You may be wondering if a revocable living trust is for you. So, today let's talk about what are the disadvantages to a revocable living trust because there are some disadvantages. And a lot of times people talk about all the pros and why you need one, but let's talk about maybe why you may not need one, why one may not be the best fit for you and for your family. I'm Darcel Lobo. I own Dow Law Firm. I've been an estate planning attorney for 16 years now. And today we're going to talk about some of the disadvantages of a revocable living trust. So let's start with what is a revocable living trust. This is an estate planning document that lets you transfer assets into your trust to control the trust during your lifetime. And upon your passing, it outlines how those assets are to be distributed. Some of the common benefits, and we're going to contrast these with the disadvantages, but some of the benefits are avoiding probate, giving you more privacy, and protecting any out-of-state property to avoid multiple probates for your estate. So let's talk about the first maybe disadvantage for some people is that a revocable living trust is more expensive than a will. It's going to cost you more to set that up. However, in most situations with a will, there's going to be a probate, and usually the cost of a will and a probate combined are going to exceed that of a trust. But for your initial out-of-pocket investment, the trust is going to be a higher cost for you than a will would be. It's also going to take a little bit more time and effort to set up the trust and to fund the trust, to make sure your assets get into the trust. There's a second step there with the trust. With the will, you can kind of set it and forget it. Whereas with the trust, we need to set it and fund it. And then going forward, you need to continue to fund it with any future assets. So it's not one of those things you can just create it one time and then not think about it anymore, which even with the will, you should be revisiting it to make sure it still is accurate and see if it needs any amendments or updates to it. But with the trust, you have to make sure it owns the assets as you acquire future assets. Okay, disadvantage number 2 is that a revocable living trust, it's revocable, which means that you can easily access it, amend it, dispose of assets, acquire new assets. So what that means is that it is reachable by creditors. By itself, it does not give you asset protection. Sometimes people think that, oh, if I do a trust, creditors can't touch it. If I'm in a lawsuit, they can't reach it. That's not true. That's not what a revocable living trust provides. A revocable living trust is an estate planning tool that provides what happens to your asset upon your passing. It does not shield it from creditors. All right, number 3. Even though you have a trust, that by itself is not a comprehensive estate plan. There are still other documents that you need. You need your pour over will. You need a healthcare power of attorney. You need a financial power of attorney. You need your directives. There still is a complete plan that needs to be created. Now, at our office, we prepare all that for you and don't just do a standalone trust. We'll do your entire estate plan, because if you're going to come in to do your trust, we want to make sure your estate plan is done correctly and do everything for you with the power of attorneys, with the directives, with the pour over will, with everything that you need to have a complete trust. All right, disadvantage number 4. If you make mistakes in funding your trust, it can kind of defeat the purpose. So with your trust, once we create it, we also help you with funding. So we get the assets into your trust for you or provide you directions on how to put some assets into the trust, like your bank accounts, investments, things like that. But once we're done, if you buy a new home a few years down the road, that home needs to get into your trust, which requires that you give us a call or an email and let us know, hey, Darcel, I bought this additional home. Can we get it into my trust? If you don't get that future acquired property into your trust does not control those assets. And so we have to make sure that we are funding it correctly when we create it, and that going forward, you ensure any future assets get into your trust as well. If you do not do so, there's a risk that a probate could be needed. All right, disadvantage number 5. Sometimes people think that a revocable living trust by itself gives you tax savings or a tax benefit or shields you from taxes. Now, that's not true unless you specifically include that in your estate plan. And we can do tax planning with a will or with a trust. But the trust itself does not give you protection from taxes. If we're looking at protecting you from taxes like estate taxes, we need to do some additional planning in your trust. So just having a trust by itself is not sufficient to protect your estate from taxes. And so we need to do an extra step when we're preparing your trust for you to protect your estate from any taxes. So those are kind of the 5 reasons that a trust may not be right for you, some of the disadvantages. So for some of our clients, actually a number of our clients, just a simple will is enough. If there's, a few assets and just a couple of beneficiaries, there's nothing, complex about the estate plan. The client's not concerned about the estate going through probate, or privacy is not much of a concern. Or maybe the client wants to keep the cost down. They want to get an estate plan done. They want to have it done correctly, but the cost of a trust is a little bit prohibitive for them. We understand that. We offer simple estate planning services that keeps the cost down and still provides you with a comprehensive estate plan. And we have all of our pricing on our website for our estate plans, and so I'll include that link down below. And also on the homepage of our website, we have an estate planning guide on the homepage. It's free. You download it. You don't have to give me an email or anything like that. You can just download it off the website. That kind of breaks down what all the documents are in an estate plan, what the cost is, what some FAQs clients have had. And so we try to provide really thorough and detailed information for you so you can make an informed decision to know for your estate plan what's right for you. Maybe a will is better, maybe a trust is better. So a trust is a very powerful tool. It can do a lot of things for clients, but you have to make sure you understand how it works and what your job is when you create a trust for your estate plan. So we're happy to help you with your estate plan. If you want a will or if you want a trust, give our office a call. Our number is 206-408-8158. Thank you.